Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. I hope you're all doing well. I'm joined by the one and only John. That's all you're getting. You're just getting John.
Oh, is that my name now? Gotcha.
That's it.
Perfect.
John Barrier Wilson is in the house. How are you?
Good. I dealing with a little bit of jet lag coming all the way from Orlando and Alabama area. So
yeah,
you know, I'm glad to be able to just settle down for a little bit.
I'm dealing with pizza lag. I went out with one of our Photoshop guests, Jesus Ramirez, last night, and we just demolished pizza.
Fun.
So I'm dealing with that.
Fun. I'm a gluten guy, so I can't.
Oh, there
gluten,
you go.
So
yeah.
Pizza sounds good though.
Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us for the next few days.
Yeah.
With your fancy, look at this. Look at this case. And then look at mine. Just, what is this? I don't know.
All around.
Where'd you get that?
I handcrafted it. I you know, used chisels and everything to make it. Yeah.
Did you actually?
No,
Okay.
it's
I thought
colorware.
I believed him. Colorware.
It's colorware.
Colorware's good.
Yeah.
I like colorware.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, so big hello to Christina and Wikoria and Huxel. Huxel, that's an interesting name. I like that. And Robzilla is in the house. One of the. Do you know Rob?
I don't know Rob.
An amazing illustrator. Tim Cook tweeted one of his illustrations at some point.
Very cool.
Yeah, great guy, great illustrator. Nathaniel and Devin and Michael, if you are joining us. Buddy of yours?
Yeah.
Nice. I love when friends just like jump in here.
I think I saw Ayana too earlier, which she was on here.
Oh yeah, she was, yeah. Hey, Anna. Awesome, so if you are joining us live on Behance, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're right now in lovely San Francisco.
Yes.
What was it like in Orlando, where you came from?
It's quite different, but you know, it's much hotter down there.
That's true.
So it's a very nice weather here, which is
for now. It's supposed to rain though, which is anyways. Yeah, so we have a lot planned for today. You're doing most of the work. I'm just sitting here talking.
Oh, okay.
But in about 15 minutes, we're gonna have chat and win, and one of you will win 100 stickers from Sticker Mule, which is great.
Nice.
And you can, if you order enough of them in the same texture, you can do something like what John has. Just order 100 wooden stickers.
Like this.
And you can kind of replicate that.
Yeah.
And then about half an hour before the stream ends, we have Chat and Win. Sorry, no, we don't have Chat and Win. Half an hour before the stream ends, we'll be reviewing challenges. So if you're on Behance right now, hit the challenge tab at the top right. You'll get a breakdown of the entire challenge. And I'll read it very quickly. Revenues are decreasing for a fictional pet supply company. They want to provide a way to ensure users that are relying on their services month over month, yada, yada, yada. So basically you design a subscribe and save interaction on a fictional pet website and get those in. There's a link there to submit them. And then John and I will review them about half before the stream ends. Awesome.
That'll be fun.
So before we get designing, tell the lovely folks here a little bit about yourself. What you do, where you're from, and what you're planning today.
So we mentioned that I was from Orlando, but I actually just moved to Alabama. Like as soon as I got an email to come out here, you know, right smack dab in the middle of moving to Alabama. So it's fun to slow down a little bit and get near family again. We have 2 kids.
Nice.
And you know, just pretty much sitting at the computer and then playing with the kids all day long.
Yeah.
I'm mostly doing UI and UX. I like to do pretty much websites, mobile designs, and kind of some web app software type stuff. So I kind of spend my time doing between that and then even do front end stuff. And right now I'm just freelance, just kind of helping people that need some stuff done.
I love it. And how do you find the freelance work? Have you done studio work before, or has it always been freelance?
I've bounced between. My first job was freelance, you know, kind of doing some stuff for startups out here in San Francisco.
Yep.
And then got into some agency jobs like at Simple Focus in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Getting all the states in the South mixed up.
Yeah, really.
And then Orlando, spent some time at Envy Labs and kind of did the whole consulting thing for a little while. So I have connections through that and just kind of, you know, talk to people.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching, if you have questions for John about this process, for you know, whether it's freelance or whatever it might be, anything design related, definitely throw it in the chat and I'll do my best to ask him.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. So I'm ready to go. Actually, I don't like to talk about myself that much.
Sure, let's jump into it.
Cool. So you know, when we were trying to just figure out what we're going to do here, I thought about doing 3 different things and kind of making them a challenge, just similar to the daily challenge that a lot of your viewers are seeing. So the first day today, I'd like to be doing kind of like this website. This is very basic. This is a you know, square with some blue and some text on top of it. So we'll pretend like this client, Bob Loblaw, who, if
It's an
you're
actual person.
blah, 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 and if you're a friend of, or if you like Arrested Development, that's kind of where I got it from.
Yeah.
So,
He's
anyway.
there's a grocery chain in Canada called Loblaws,
Really?
and he is the owner. He's an actual guy.
He's an actual
He's
guy.
an actual guy. His name
had
is
no
Bob
idea.
Loblaw. He used to do commercials promoting this Loblaws chain. He's like, I'm Bob Loblaw. I am dead serious. Look it up on YouTube.
That's
it's an
awesome.
actual thing.
Well, I even got the Bob Loblaw's law block here. You can find the link right here,
Love it.
which is perfect.
Bob
So,
Loblaw's law blog. Try saying that 10 times fast.
oh man, be a headache.
Chris is wondering if you use your Mac as a cutting board.
No, I like to keep it kind of clean, but that's a good idea. So I might need to.
Chris, how about you try that and
Yeah.
let us know how
Let me
it
know.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today will be a website. Tomorrow will be a kind of mobile app, and then Thursday will be a software app, kind of
Nice.
more web app.
Cool.
So basically just kind of wanted to dive in here, look at Bob Loblaw and Bob Loblaw, and kind of make this a bit more visually appealing. So this client, we pretend like this client came to us and said, no one really likes the way the site looks. There's a lot of text, it's not very eye-catching. So I'll kind of show you my process of what I would do if I got this kind of request and what we'd kind of end up with, hopefully.
Nice.
So usually what I do is just kind of take an overview of what's on the site. You know, there's lots of different rows here. They have the kind of a header with just basically telling somebody what they do. Television and movie law is difficult, and together we can make it simple. Kind of a marketing thing. And then we get into services. We have the contracts, negotiations, litigation. So all the services. We get into You're in Great Company, some logos. There's a really great Tumblr out there called Here Are Some Logos.
Here are some logos.
And
Okay.
it reminds me of this all the time. There's it's basically a Tumblr of all these different websites that just have logos on them without any context around it.
Interesting.
So it's really funny. It's worth a look. But anyway, so we kind of made it clear here. You're in great company. They've helped these type of people.
Yeah.
Some stats and then some steps on how to get a project started, whatever. So now that I have that, I generally would ask the client, what are you looking for? Like, do you need to keep it more traditional? Do you want to keep it more, do you want to spice it up a little bit, have more modern type stuff? So we're going to pretend like this is a pretty traditional client. So one of the things I would first do is go to Behance and actually just look up some great inspiration.
I love Behance and Dribbble, and don't be afraid to talk about non-Adobe stuff, but you know, Behance is great, Dribble's great. There are other, I think I used to go to a website called thedesigninspiration.com. That was a
Yes.
good one. I think they're not really active anymore. Last I checked, they were, the website wasn't working very well.
Design inspiration?
I think it was The Design Inspiration.
Oh, yeah. We'll Google it here and see what
Yeah,
happens.
but definitely, you know, if you're a starting designer, or even if you're oh yeah, maybe they have updated it recently.
Interesting.
Even if you're a veteran designer, getting inspiration is just so critical. Obviously, you don't want to copy someone's work
Right.
completely, but just like diving in and trying to get some color schemes or just some ideas on little elements can help a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we mentioned that it would be a traditional website, so we might want to try to stick with the serif or something. So I
Yeah.
would search for serif and then just website, because I try to keep in mind that it's searched via tags. And look, we got one thing here. Or we can do traditional.
That's better.
There we go. And you would just kind of start browsing through. I like to kind of click on one that has a decent thumbnail image here. We'll just look at this. Traditional soap website.
Interesting. Okay.
Because law and soap, I guess, is cleaning up stuff. So anyway, that's kind of where I would go. I have a few ideas here of what I'd like to do, though. So kind of being prepared there. So one of the things we're going to do first is kind of copy over. Let's just say this was their logo. We'll take it over here and put it into the rework section. We'll change the color here. And, you know, just kind of want to start mapping out how I think this should flow. Because right now we have text that's just very center. Maybe we want to add another picture, another image. So we'll kind of think about that. We'll just say that the text would go over here.
And when you're going through this process at the very
Yes.
beginning, you typically start with very low fidelity, just like blocking things out.
I do. I find that content hierarchy is really, really important
Yeah.
in helping someone understand what the website's trying to communicate. And obviously one of the most important things beyond visuals is actually the text. So something that helps kind of set the typography and make sure that it's flowing correctly and that someone can actually read what's being communicated.
Yeah, and I know Chris is probably going to ask this question at some point, but do you typically use any sort of a grid system, 8-point, 10-point, whatever?
Sometimes. Being a front-end developer as well, I've gotten to learn a bit about like CSS Grid and some of these new technologies that are coming out, and that's really helpful. I don't want to get into the should designers learn to code type of an argument, but
which Corey is actually asking right now.
Nice.
You might as well dive into it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but it certainly helps understand a bit of, the things you can do, things you can't do.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of impressive how over the past couple of years, even the last year, how much more you can do.
Yeah.
And it's not as limiting as it used to be.
Yeah. So. And I think that's a really good point. There's Chris with the grid system. I think that's a really good point is having a basic understanding of what you can do, because there have been times where designers have created these absolutely beautiful websites or mobile apps and they pass them along to the developers and the developer just looks at them like they're from another world because there's just all these interactions, and creating these interactions is nice, especially if you're posting them on Dribbble, but you have to really know what's possible, whether it's a website or a mobile, because both of them have very different limitations. On mobile, you can possibly do more fun interactions than websites, and web has different limitations than mobile. So definitely having a little bit of an understanding helps a lot.
Sure, yeah, it definitely does, and especially even when you get into like handoff, if you design something and developers looking at it like, I don't know how in the world I'm going to do that. Yeah. Then you get into a bit of relationship stuff, of trying to figure out how to work with someone, and it just makes the whole process a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I really like freight sands. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I really just like kind of making something big and extra, kind of in your face in a way, but still keeping that traditional kind of look with the serif there. And something here that is also kind of something that I kind of want to touch on is the colors. Again, I like to block out stuff at first, but then I'll eventually kind of get into a bit of color selection. So let me make this subheading here, and we'll just do, what should we do? We'll just do Helvetica or something basic.
Can't go wrong with Helvetica.
Can't go wrong with it, and it makes it super easy to read, which is what it was made for. So we'll just say that's there, and we've got this kind of content section, and one of the things that's lacking is an image, so we'll just say an image will go here for the time being. So now that I'm doing that, I'll probably go into some colors and actually just start diving in here.
And throughout this process, are you typically adding elements to your assets panel, or are you still trying to figure out exactly what works, what doesn't work?
That's a good question. Right now, it's just figuring out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a ton of, symbols and all these different things that you could take advantage of until you know exactly the font you're going to be using. Else. So.
And Mana is asking to repeat the name of the font. It was Freight Sands?
Freight Sands. Yes, and I found that one in Adobe Fonts. So I just kind of popped it open and got it synced here. So you could tell I love using that.
Nice.
So, I'm just trying to keep in mind here that maybe until this fold here, we keep things kind of full height or something. We'll just kind of go with that for now.
Yep.
So there's the image, kind of cutting the screen in half and making sure you have the content section and visual section. So we'll get into kind of some colors here, like I was saying. And usually this blue is really great for traditional, is what I'm thinking. I like to, as funny as it can be, kind of the philosophy and psychology behind specific colors. Yellow is great for a pencil. It kind of keeps things your attention, and you got red, which is great for food, ironically.
Interesting. Or error buttons.
Or error buttons, bad. Yeah. I mean, food and error buttons, those could go together.
They could.
Then, blue is very comforting, and knowing that this is a law firm, most people come in and are kind of, stressed out about whatever they have going on, and they need a lawyer.
Yeah.
So kind of bringing in a blue helps them say, hey, together we can make this simple, and we're going to kind of even subconsciously communicate that with the blue coming in there.
I like it.
So we'll definitely not stick with red. Let's go with the blue here, and maybe we can make it a bit more unique and add some teal in there.
Okay,
So
it's working.
Yeah.
Kevin Lee is in the house.
Kevin.
One of our awesome guests and hosts.
Cool.
Yeah, welcome, Kevin.
So we'll go with that for now. And again, we'll need to kind of address this. We have an image, we have a heading, we have a subheading and the logo, but we're certainly missing the navigation here. So
Right.
we'll kind of bring that over. And again, it's an interesting scenario here because we're taking a file that I've already created and moving it over to new artboard. But most of the time when you're having this kind of a problem, you're not gonna be able to copy and paste this type of stuff because
Right, you'd have to create it from scratch.
yeah, the website will be the website.
Yeah. And how do you typically determine whether the navigation links are going to go on the right side, the center, the left side, and same with the logo, or is it just trial and error?
Trial and error. I mean, that's the creative process for me is less about, I certainly like to study and try to figure out, where things should flow and where they should go, but at the end of the day, we're all being creative and trying to create something that's unique and eye-catching. So trial and error, it just is like a hunt for finding the solution, like a puzzle. So we'll just say it's over at the right now just because of the layout. And maybe we can just make the text a little bit bigger. And we'll stick that for there right now. Let's go ahead and find an image to stick in there and see if we can make it a little bit more unique again. Any questions while I'm looking for this?
Yeah, if you have questions for John, definitely throw them in. Use Adobe Stock a lot?
I do now. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's still fairly new, I feel like, because in comparison to iStock Photo or something else. But very, very unique stuff for sure.
Yeah, they have some really interesting features where if you're looking for an image or a set of images that looks very similar to an image you already have, you can basically just drag it directly into Adobe Stock, and it'll let you filter by the color, the actual subject matter using like the Sensei technology. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, we certainly want to include people. A big part of a law firm is people.
Right.
So it might be helpful to have a smiling face, someone that's happy to continue to communicate that calming feel.
Yeah. It's funny because I've definitely seen.
Not this.
I think that could be interesting.
It could be.
Yeah, I've definitely seen law firm banners and images and things like that where it's just like very sad and depressed people, and I look at that and think, I know what you're trying to convey with this, but it's not really doing anything for me.
Yeah, a big part of empathy, and we hear a lot about empathy in design, and a big part of that empathy is understanding where they're coming from, and then you want to expand upon it and show them where they could be.
Yeah.
So
totally.
That's a bit of marketing, but it's good to know, especially in design when you're creating a marketing website.
Yeah, and while you're browsing for the perfect image, which we all do for hours and hours. Kevin is asking, how did you get started in UI and UX?
Yes, so I went to Full Sail University online. So my whole kind of career has been remote and working kind of remote, but especially in school there. It was a graphic design degree, but we had 1 month, one class where we got to work on a website, and they taught us jQuery and some HTML. And I mean, from that, I just got hooked on it. So before that, it was a lot of just posters and kind of graphic design stuff, but getting into that class really introduced me into some of the more web stuff, and it just really kind of hooked me there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So online university, I like that.
Yes, it was good.
Yeah, because there's debates, you can talk about this for hours about whether in-person universities or schools are better than online and online is better than school, or whether school is even important for a career like this.
Right.
We probably won't get into that today, but what do you think about the online experience?
I really enjoyed it because it's
what's
much
your
more.
Twitter handle, by the way? I'm trying to tweet this picture. I can't
Barrier
find it.
Wilson.
Barrier Wilson.
Yes.
Okay.
I have John on there, and then my handle is Barrier Wilson.
Ah, I see.
Because Twitter has.
There you are. All right.
There we go.
All right. Continue.
Yeah. So we were talking about school stuff. Is that what we're talking about? Sorry.
What did you think about the online experience for?
Yeah.
UI, UX?
It's much more real life. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Because we're all working on a computer instead
Yeah.
of going into a room. And, you know, it depends also on kind of what you see your career doing. I knew that I kind of wanted to stay remote, so it was fine to do online school like that.
Nice.
So I downloaded a stock photo here. So let me go into downloads here and find out where.
So someone is mentioning, he says, I think without a degree on design, you don't get a job. I was planning to move to US or Canada with work permit, but unfortunately I don't have a design certificate. It's an interesting situation. I think that's very specific to the, I guess the act of, or the want to relocate to a different country. Because that country might have different requirements than jobs. I know like in specific, big companies within the United States are kind of moving to the mindset where you don't really need a degree, you just need great skills, great personality, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even companies like Google, I think, are kind of opening up to that idea. But when you have another layer on top of that, where you essentially have to convince the government that you are someone who has amazing skills that you can't find in that country, that's a whole other story.
Certainly.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to keep in mind here that we're broadcasting to a large user base all over the world here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I got this image in here, and you can already tell instantly that though it's light image and it's light and they're smiling and they're, you know.
They look like they just want a big lawsuit.
Yes, that's
good for them.
Good for them. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like a last minute thing here. Just trying to find the, you know, TV remote.
Now I'm going to be wondering what the lawsuit was all day.
I was going to come up with a joke, but I can't. So we'll just say.
We'll think of something.
Yeah, we'll think of something here. So one of the things there, again, is the contrast. Obviously, you know, putting text on top of that's going to be quite difficult.
Yep.
The trendy thing right now is to have overlapping elements.
Right.
You know.
I've noticed a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of text over images and images over images and things. So it's kind of what I was going for, but we might need to kind of back it down a little bit here. So you asked earlier about grids. I generally try to just hold the Option key in Adobe XD here and just try to measure out and keep it an even number.
Yeah.
And that makes it much easier in code.
Do you ever use the built-in grid system within XD?
Sometimes. And more than the layouts, I definitely like to use the actual grid.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we did up to there, we could start aligning things.
Yep.
So that's helpful. We'll just go ahead and stick that there. And that's the great thing about like the CSS grid is that we can pretty much transition this one for one over into code.
Right.
So again, just knowing about that would be helpful. So we'll kind of work on this text here a bit. I've seen a lot of websites kind of cut the text in half here and make this
like lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that kind of it cuts down on readability. I feel like that's kind of hard to read. And then again, in code makes it quite difficult.
Do you ever work with overlays or gradients on top of images in order to make the text a little bit more readable?
I do, and I'm certain we could probably try that here. Usually, I don't like to. From my perspective, it kind of makes the image feel not as natural. But let's just see what we get here. Maybe we can try it here. See what we get. So we'll put this over here. We'll drag this to the left. So we have a horizontal gradient since the text is horizontal. Coming across.
I still haven't finished the tweet, by the way.
Nice.
It'll be the end of the stream, and I'll finally tweet that we're live.
So we'll take it over here. Just kind of filling around. So I'll go ahead and one thing that I really love to do, and I think it's very helpful, is to actually keep up with your layer names.
Oh, yes. It's so important, especially once you get to the phase where you are going to prototype this thing. If you're going to be using auto-animate at all, which for the web, you probably won't be using too much auto-animate, but definitely there are cases where you will. You want to make sure that your layer names, your groups are up to date. And then if you ever have to use the search function within your layers panel, that will help tremendously that your names are up to date.
So now we have a gradient, and that certainly is helping bring that text in and still kind of help them feel
Okay.
like one element. I probably wouldn't have tried that if you didn't mention it. So
It kind of works.
yeah.
It does feel like there's a lot of, I know this is very early on,
Yes.
but it feels like there's a lot of empty space right now.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. And that's some of the things that just, again, takes time to just kind of
Of course,
develop and
yeah.
everything. So I'll try and get a little bit more done here before we get into your chat and win countdown
Yeah.
here.
Colleen is asking, does it transition over to code? And I think that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
About knowing what's possible on the development side. Because we hear a lot that people want the ability for Adobe XD to pump out code. Kind of like what
interesting.
Muse used to do. You ever
Yeah.
use Muse?
Yeah.
And it's tricky because as design evolves, and even web and CSS evolves, it's very difficult to take design, especially when designers get crazy with some really interesting things, and convert it over to code. Like right now, there are a few plugins within Adobe XD that try to do this, export to React or CSS, HTML, Swift, whatever it might be. And some of them do a pretty good job depending on how it was designed, but if you go crazy with it, it's not gonna work very well.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there is a lot of white space, and maybe we just kind of go in here and really tone it down, see what it looks like in the opposite way.
Okay, interesting.
This is totally my process at this point, is just trying to get things, figure out what's going to go on here.
Oh, Marek has an interesting suggestion. Just flip the image. That way you don't have to fade their faces.
That would be a good idea.
Interesting.
Ooh. That's good. Brings the,
Yeah.
and this is the benefit of collaboration,
There you
whether
go.
it's
Good
virtual or
suggestion.
not. So we'll just leave that there for now. Maybe we could bring this back. Use that blue there. There you go.
Okay, there you go. All we need is a Marek in our lives.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Hopefully
We all
I'm
do.
pronouncing that name correctly.
Another benefit is the keyboard shortcuts. Just click an I for color selection there. And when I get to this point, I usually like to take a step back, and it's funny how a lot of designers will just literally sit on a computer like this, just
Yeah.
looking at something. Right now I'm kind of thinking it looks white. You're right. It looks very bland. It kind of looks like what would I say? Like a home decoration, or interior
That's
design.
true.
Something.
Yeah.
So that might be the photo. I'm not sure yet. So we'll just kind of keep trying here. Law for actors. Another one of those things that's really fun to do that you would know in code is to make some vertical text here.
Interesting. I don't often use vertical text. So are these two
Make
actors now?
white. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The story's coming together.
Yeah.
By the end of this, we're gonna have an entire story about these two people.
Yeah, right. Let's see here. We'll make that big. We'll set that over here. So I'm going to try and think about this for a second. Maybe we need to go back to Behance and kind of look at some stuff.
Okay.
I hope that it shows y'all that there is struggle in creative process. There's sometimes just things that you try to get through and you try to learn, and it takes it takes a few minutes to get
Absolutely.
through.
Sometimes it takes a few days to
a few
really
days. That's true.
figure out the direction you're gonna take.
The hard thing about law is certainly that the photos as well.
Yeah. Maybe these two people got hit by fireworks from Chat and Win. It's possible.
Well, they don't have any burns, so
Oh, they don't. Well, now that we can see.
that we can see.
You never know.
Right.
All right, so it's Chat and Win time. We're gonna take a very quick break. When we come back, let us know what these two people's names are, and we'll kind of use that to help build out this story. So we'll be back in 1 second with Chat and Win.
Cool.
And we are back. So let us know in the chat what we should name these two lovely people. And one of you will win 100 stickers from Sticker Mule. Nathaniel says Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We have Sparkler, Dawn and Lena. Steve and Ginger. Okay. Edna and John. We got some good names going.
Jack and Rose.
Jack and Rose. Although Rose would probably, oh, Jack is not doing very well. Titanic reference.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Bill and Sue. Sue was interesting because they sued them. Or some, I don't know.
There we go. That's good.
Terrible dad joke.
You've done this a few times.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ren and Stimpy. Yes, I love that, Lindsay. Jack and Rose again. All right. Maybe we just go with Jack and Rose.
Let's just do that.
Not that any of this matters.
Oh, it's critical.
Jesse and Cha-Cha. All right. Rex and Gina. Yeah. Got some good suggestions. We're going to have to go back and maybe we can create a poll on what names we should. Maybe we're just thinking about this way too much.
I think I'm thinking about everything way too much.
Victoria. You just won 100 stickers from Sticker Mule. And someone from Behance will, congrats. Someone from Behance will get in touch with you very shortly. And if you did not win, you can still grab 10 stickers for $1, I believe, at stickermule.com/Adobe Live 19.
Okay, cool. We're back.
We are back.
Nice. Yeah, so one of the things I really pulled in here was that background color. I think that really helped kind of bring some things together here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add this gradient back to help kind of with the, if you look at the contrast here between the image and the photo, it's it kind of blends in at a certain point. I usually like to have a bit more contrast there. So we'll do the gradient, bring that back in, and we'll put this up in the corner since it's just that one little area up there. And we'll make this just completely knocked out. Just a little bit there.
Yeah,
just
it definitely
enough.
separates a bit.
Yeah.
Because probably the last thing you want to do is add some weird, harsh drop shadow.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to go that direction.
Flat in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
You could always bring this into Photoshop and add a lovely bevel and emboss.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, we should do that.
Let's do that. I don't know if I could even fake it here with like a gradient of some, a drop shadow of some sort. We don't want to play around. That'll be fine.
No.
Cool. So something that also helps me when I get to this point is really just continue on down the page and try to figure out if there's anything that we want to pull back up to that header. So we have a general art direction going here. Nothing too special at the moment, just serif and this. So we're gonna work on a bit of layout here. So we'll pull in that, sorry, what's the key? There we go, the little grid there. And we'll get into services here. So we have contracts, negotiation, litigation, and with some text here. So, I'll try to block it out here before we start adding styles, but it's kind of like a fast wireframing type thing. So we're gonna get into. So let's just say this will be here. And I wanted to try to break up, just similar to we have up here, the lack of very specific grids, even vertically.
Right.
Just trying to bring that in down here as well. So maybe some of these overlap or some that kind of just float around. I'll just kind of mess with this for a little bit. Maybe I'll take that away.
You're just getting fancy, aren't you?
Just getting a little fancy.
Oh.
Whoop.
Just kidding.
Let's see here.
They were just celebrating their lawsuit victory.
So we'll say that this is the kind of like what we would want.
Right, okay.
You still have the vertical grid going. I mean, a horizontal grid going, but you can break it up a little bit more vertically. And then we can pull in this same font down here. I'm gonna come back and organize those layers in a second. And we'll just slap this right here, see what happens. And we'll go ahead and take that blue out. Just make it a bit more standard in a way. Bring it down, because this is a H1. We'll probably bring this down to like an H2.
And how do you determine the sizes of your H1s, H2s, that sort of thing?
That's a good question. Generally by eye.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, and just the natural human way of thinking is we want even numbers, something that kind of keeps it, easily dividable or something.
Yeah.
But one thing that's super helpful for XD that many other tools don't have is this right
I love
here.
that little handle.
Yes.
It's so cool.
It really makes it, you focus on the visuals about it instead of just the math behind it. Because if you do too much math, it just becomes less
I
human.
know. But you can do math in Adobe XD.
You can.
I know.
So I'll do 100 times 1.125. Oh, there you go.
Bam. Who would have known that we'd be doing math
Math, InDesign.
in design?
InDesign, well, that's a different product. So services, I think is just the title here. So we don't need any other things there. So we can tighten this up a little bit, and then we'll start bringing in this text. Now, the more I look at this while I'm working at things, I generally think about, my mind's going in like 3 different directions. So I'm thinking about the color as I'm doing this.
Yep.
Not a huge fan of it at this point. Still feels kind of interior design-like. So we'll see what we go with there. But while I'm working on this, I'm gonna try and think about what would look good. So now we have 3 different sections here. Let's go back over here, copy negotiations. It might be good just to do, as I'm thinking about this, or working on this, thinking about that blue, it might be good just to go back towards a very standard blue instead of something unique.
Give it a shot, see what happens.
do
It's
it.
all about trial and error.
Yeah. We got a little bit of a, probably like a grayish blue there.
I can't tell you how many revisions of projects I've gone through where they all look the same, but the background might be a different color, or the
Right.
text might be a different color. It's just what we do as designers.
I mean, I did my website, and it's really hard for yourself.
Yeah.
So hard for yourself. I went through probably 30 different mock-ups
Only 30?
per day.
Oh, per day.
Per day.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to pull in a bit more of that, and it might be that not even the color. Now we've changed the color, we see that it might be that font. So let's just go with something like Meta. Feels a bit more specific.
Slightly more modern.
Slightly more modern.
Yeah. But it really depends on what the feel or what the law firm's actually all about. Are they a modern law firm, or are they
Right.
very traditional? What do they offer, and that sort of thing?
Considering it's television and movie, it might need to be a bit more modern.
Maybe, yeah.
So maybe we could even try, some kind of, something that I also love to do is just open up the font book and take a look around.
Yep.
So let's try, Calibri might be good.
It's another thing that you can spend hours upon hours on, just browsing fonts and testing out different fonts and things like that.
I think that's what we're professionals at, is just browsing things
Yeah.
like stock images and fonts.
A big hello to everyone who is just joining, Anel and Osama and John Eric and all the other awesome people. If you have questions for John throughout this process, definitely throw them in the chat.
So one thing we might want to do is kind of desaturate this a bit, which means we probably need to open Photoshop just to get a bit of curves going as well.
Yeah, possibly. Sometimes just dropping the opacity will kind of help a little bit, but probably not. Actually, Talon Wadsworth, one of our, I think the lead designer on Adobe XD, a few weeks ago, not last week, I think the week before possibly, he designed what image adjustments could look like in XD.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
Because just to be able to mock it up quickly, because generally like you can even desaturate in code too as well. So
Yeah.
if it's something that can be done quick, that'd
Yeah.
be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Just, basic stuff, saturation, brightness, contrast, that sort of thing.
So we'll come back to kind of like the white and blue here. I'm definitely liking that a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and add a shadow here just to help that separation again with similar to what we dealt with up there. Just kind of bump up the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I like those very subtle, very blurred, subtle shadows.
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly. You know, you could do the whole even double shadow, which is kind of difficult in XD.
Yeah, you'd have to have another layer.
Let's just say that we had another layer there, and we pull that down to maybe like 5 and 15, and then we bumped it up a little more. So now you have even a nicer gradient between those two.
Yeah.
So.
And as you see on Dribble a lot, you can add colors behind it as, you know, colored shadows and things like that. But you probably don't want to get that fancy for a law website.
No, that's true. So if I had the time, I'd probably go in here and add some icons, but let's just pretend that those are there for now. We'll just add some placeholders.
Yep. And as Tim mentioned, if anyone wants to upvote or request a feature in Adobe XD, adobeXD.uservoice.com, definitely go there. There's a lot of features that are at the top of the list that are being worked on right now. There's a lot of features that are coming soon. So, you know, head there, upvote some stuff, and if you have bugs, you can file them there as well.
So a good tip here, whenever you're working like this and you see how there's a ton of various things going on, you don't have layers organized, just kind of doing Command Shift and clicking all those elements, and then just hit Command G. You have a group there, and now you have, we'll just say this one is Service 1. We'll do the same over here. And then as you have time, Survey 2, Service. As you have time, you can go back in and actually go into the folder and work on that.
Yeah. Ramsey is asking about night mode, which I believe is probably dark mode. Would you use dark mode in Adobe XD?
I probably would.
Yeah, I would too.
I go back and forth between dark mode and Mojave itself.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on the time of day.
Yep.
Night, it's a bit blinding to have just white.
Yeah, I think once I switched over from light to dark in Photoshop, I just can't go back to light. It's just too blinding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love, actually Sam Anderson, one of our designers on the XD team is here. Sam, make dark mode happen.
Do it, Sam.
Yeah, I would love dark mode. I think the thing right now is the team wants to really focus on features that are going to be beneficial to designers at the moment. Even though you can argue that dark mode is probably beneficial in some ways, they definitely want to get things like resizable symbols or hover or that sort of thing out before they really, and not to say that dark mode might not be worked on, but you know, there's priorities there.
Certainly. I mean, that's even, I mean, they're working on actual XD, but it's a similar thing for design. You want to make sure that you're hitting the business goals, not just this looks cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So listening to your clients if you're freelance, or think about the project goals.
Yeah.
So again, we're working with a very white background here. So let's just add maybe an additional point here. Okay. Let's see. Can I do that in a square?
What are you trying to do?
Let's just do this. I'll make it a whole lot easier on myself if I just actually drew out the shape that I want from the beginning. So let's just say we have a bit more of this kind of flowy
and yes,
stuff.
you can do that. If you double click on the rectangle, you can edit the path, and then you just click to add new points, and then double click on a point to curve it.
Now that's what I did, but I think it was behind a layer or something there. So just kind of want to add a bit more visual elements to this. So we'll spin this 180 degrees and see what it looks like down here. Again, just creating some additional layers.
So Abdul is asking about, he says, where can I exactly use the word subtle when it comes to shadow or a border radius? I mean, it's difficult to, subtle is, usually the way I think about it, subtle is very, so if you're using a shadow, for example, it'll be very difficult to see, but it's there. You can kind of see that it's there. It's not super dark. It's not super harsh. Border radius is a little bit different, but anywhere between maybe 2 and 5 pixels. So it's very, just a little bit of just a tiny bit of a curve will, I guess that would be subtle. But
subtle, yeah.
Some people will have different definitions of subtle.
Yeah, and it's what you're saying too is it's very relative to whatever the context is.
That's true.
If all of these were cranked up to, 100, then
I don't hate that though.
I don't either. I normally wouldn't use 100.
Yeah.
But if everything's cranked up to 100 and then you just want to create a 5 pixel radius on something else, that's dramatic.
Right.
Even though it's in the opposite direction. So it's definitely certainly about where you are in the midst of everything.
Totally.
So I do like the 10. I think it's, especially with this up here, just being a sharp edge, maybe we just stick it to sharp edges here. That's just the style we're gonna go for.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'm gonna switch to my screen for just for a second. Cool. Someone is asking about tutorials for XD. I'm actually working on a big series on XD videos, letsxd.com. And if you're just starting out, there's a few videos here. You can, if you're bringing over from Photoshop or Illustrator, and just like tools. There's a lot of, and if you're short on time, I have this new Snackables series
cool.
where it's just 1-minute videos just on responsive resize, repeat grids, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of stuff on here. There's a lot more coming as well.
I love all these little tips.
And you can switch between light and dark mode.
Now, did you code this?
I did. Well, I used Squarespace, but
yeah.
This thing, for example, I did code.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff coming, a lot of tutorials, and even more coming soon.
Cool. So there we go. We have kind of maybe we do this, maybe we don't. Let me hide it for now. I kind of like it very simple.
Yeah.
Very minimal. As designers, that's what we love.
Indeed.
So now we're going to get into the logo section. You can see how we've come from basic rows, and kind of the way that we're adding visual appeal here just naturally is creating a bit of vertical differences instead of these rows that are just completely horizontal. That's a great thing to think about there.
Indeed.
So again, at this point, I'm still not using a ton of symbols or libraries or different things. Just trying to.
When do you get to the point where you start adding stuff to your assets panel, symbols, character styles, and that sort of thing?
Actually, Friday is going to be full of that. Thursday. Okay. That project I'm going to be working on Thursday. But it's generally once I get at least a whole page done on a web design, that I know that's the direction we're going to go. And then building out the rest of the pages is much more quickly.
That's true.
So.
And one of the cool things, I forget who it was, but I blew someone's mind when I showed them this for the first time. But once you get to the point on this page where you're happy with all the character styles, you're happy with the colors, you can just select the entire artboard and press the plus button beside colors and character styles. It just adds all of it.
That's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that with symbols, but you can do that with colors and character styles.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we'll just pop this over here for now. I need to get this text as well. So we're assuming that the client wants the same text. They're happy with that.
Yeah. There's a conversation in chat talking about what platform you should design first, whether it's mobile first or desktop first. Sam has a good point, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I have a friend that I worked with that always said it depends.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what kind of Sam's pointing at. Yeah. I agree.
It depends. I've done a ton of marketing sites, and I think a general way you could go with marketing sites similar to this one is mobile first, because you want to, that's where the majority of people are coming from.
Right.
I usually like to go from this section and do a bit of art direction. So that's how I personally do it. But again, it depends.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. So we'll keep kind of tweaking away here. If you're working on hierarchy of text, another thing that I like to do is create, kind of some color differences between headings and text. So right now this text is actually just kind of 888. So we'll copy that over here and do that. And you have a little bit more definition between those two. So we're going to bring all of these little logos over. These logos were actually made by Mackenzie Child, and they are little placeholder logos, which are really nice.
So they're not actual companies?
They're not actual companies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a place you can get these, download them?
Yes, but placeholder logos, let me see. Acme logos.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Really nice. I think it has these 8 in there. Yeah, Mackenzie Child did that, and they're full on. They have tons of different, files in there.
Interesting.
I think you can actually have the Illustrator file and pull that in. Super helpful. Yeah, so that site that I mentioned earlier, here are some logos. All of them are horizontal. So maybe we want to really break out of the box here and pull these down. Again, trying to add visual appeal, trying to make it different than other types of sites.
You ever run into a situation where you're working on a website like this, you're trying to break the grid, break the bounds, do something different, and then you hand it over to a client and they're just not all about it?
Oh yeah. And that's one of the things that's hard because we put a lot of heart into our work as well.
Yeah.
You know, as designers. So sometimes you just kind of have to roll with the punches.
Do you typically just give in and say, you know what? Or do you fight back and say, maybe it's better this way because of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do fight back. I mean, they are generally, the client is very educated in their field and what they're hiring, you know, what other people hire them to do. But as far as design, that's what we have studied. That's what we spend our time doing. So you would definitely want to feel comfortable pushing back because if someone hires you and respects you, then they'll listen for sure.
I would hope so.
Sometimes they don't. But
you never know with clients.
Never know.
Never know.
Good old clients.
Just make it pop.
I got that from a client the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. So, I don't know. If you're trying to think here for a little bit, we might need to pull in some of these stats as well. So maybe we'd have a whole section full of various different things. Pop these down here. Okay. So maybe we go back to Behance to kind of look at some other things here as far as like dashboards and styles and things. So let's do that. Because I think a dashboard kind of section there would be really cool.
Yeah, there's also, this may not apply to this project in specific, but on the Adobe XD website, there's a resources section where you can download UI kits, and there's a few that cover dashboard elements and things like that. So if anyone out there is working on projects that require charts or any sort of dashboard elements, there are UI kits on our website that you can download for free.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
It saves you a lot of time as well.
It does.
So we'll say we could probably bring in a bit of, oh, this is very cool.
Oh, fancy. Look at that.
Interesting. That's the one thing I really love about Behance, is that you get a full project page. And
Yeah.
you can really do some cool stuff here.
This is super cool.
Yeah. So these little things are very cool.
Oh boy. I can just watch this for days.
I know. Let's just all hang out here and just watch this.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. So I definitely like some of this data visualization stuff here.
Yeah.
Maybe we pull that in. You know, we have 23 years of experience. How could we show 23 years? We have clients served as 35 different clients. This will be a very successful lawyer if it was a real lawyer.
Yeah, really. Good job, Bob blah blah.
Bob, I like your law blog is really great too.
Yeah.
Pull those down a little bit and then we'll...
Someone's asking about video in Adobe XD. I know that that is something that I believe Talon has mentioned that the team wants to get around to, videos and GIFs and possibly even audio within XD, like your prototypes and things like that. I think the tricky thing about that, maybe it's not that tricky because I'm not an engineer, so I'm not sure, but I'm just assuming, first of all, the priority thing, but also whenever you're embedding videos inside of a prototype like this, there's always going to be the chance that depending on the size of the video, depending on the length and that sort of thing, the resolution, that it's going to slow down the application and slow down your workflow. So I would imagine that the team is really trying to figure out how do we make this happen but not affect performance, which is so vital to an application like Adobe XD, which strives on being fast and snappy.
Certainly.
Yeah. So it's on their radar, but I would imagine they're taking their time to make sure it's right.
That would be cool though.
That would be
really cool.
I would love to see that. Because we see a lot of websites these days where the header image at the top is just one big looping video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got kind of organize my layers as well. So if you're trying to think through things, spend some of that extra time kind of organizing some stuff while you're thinking and contemplating what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So again, we're trying to create a creative challenge that's very similar to what a lot of viewers are working on.
Yep. And by the way, if you are working on that challenge, there's 33 minutes left to get those in, and John and I will review them at the end of the stream.
Cool. So we have all the logos, we have some stats, and we want to get kind of a data visualization for some of these things. So one of the things that might be helpful is to flip this section here. We'll put the logos on here and deal with this later, since we know a bit about what we want to do. Sorry, having trouble grabbing that there. We'll get there. There we go. So let's say we want to just create a basic graph here.
Yep.
Use that nice little repeat grid.
Fancy.
There we go. Now we have all the different, little lines we need for a graph. Lighten that up a bit. Done. So now we're going to need to do experience 23 years, client serve 35, negotiation rate. Let's see here.
Someone's mentioning the Apple website with there's a lot of slow-mo video animation.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me actually hop over here for a second and refresh this. I always love Apple's websites. They have these very subtle animations. Apple TV Plus. And as you're scrolling, these elements kind of move a little bit. Then there's a video in the background. And again, you're seeing... Now, some of this can be done in Adobe XD, like this stuff here where it loaded in.
Yeah.
And, text kind of came up. But some of it, like this, as you're scrolling, we don't have scroll triggers at the moment. You can kind of fake it with auto animate and a drag trigger. Video, obviously, we can't do yet, but a lot of this stuff can definitely be done in Adobe XD. Some of it work around, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah, so I'm sure the reason they brought that up is I remember the Mac Pro site specifically.
Oh yes, that was cool.
That was really awesome. So one of the things they had on there was years experience. They had this little, sorry, I'll get there eventually. Basically like a loading bar that kind of showed the value of certain things. Now, I don't know if this will work well for this, but we'll give it a try here. Well, now that we're using this blue a bit, I'll go ahead and add that into the document color there. That's generally where I start when I'm adding stuff as well.
Did you watch the Apple event yesterday?
I didn't. I was on a plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rewatch it. Mainly just the announcements were fine, but the intro video was incredible.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was super cool. Actually, let me hop over to Dribble. Shameless self-promotion because
Do
I
it.
can. But I very quickly recreated the very beginning of the intro in Adobe XD.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was super. You have to watch the entire intro. It's really cool. But this was just 2 artboards and a mask that kind of animated.
Oh,
inwards.
interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, Osama Saad, if you get a chance, watch that intro, and it's really cool stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great job on that.
Thank you.
So we'll add this little thing here, and we'll see what this looks like. How many years did Bob Loblaw have? 23 years of experience.
Not bad.
Wish I had 23 years of experience in design.
Yeah, really.
Probably be a lot easier now.
Although it evolves so much that maybe it wouldn't even make a difference.
That's true. That's true.
You have to relearn new things all the time.
So they did have this, and it just kind of creates a bit of idea around how much that person has experience.
And it's funny, as you're building this out, Talon and Andrew demoed, I was about to recommend the rounded corners, I love that.
Oh, cool.
Talon and Andrew demoed what the next version of symbols is gonna look like. Being able to resize them and have overrides. And I'm just imagining that all of this could be done with a single symbol. So you'll be able to have duplicates of this symbol and just make overrides. And that way, if you have to make changes to the rounded corners, even though you've made like this one a little bit longer, you'll still be able to make changes to the corners on all of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be super powerful.
Yeah, so one thing I'm thinking about here is we have several different data types.
Yep.
We have years. We have just a static number. We have percentage, and then we have a plus. So this probably wouldn't work well for most of these, but what it would work really well for is the percentage one.
Yeah.
Because then we have, typical bar, and then 97.8%. You'll see just that little slim bit. Negotiation success rate. So now we have that. We'll stick with that for now. Experience 23 years. Maybe one thing that was really cool going back to Apple was their little watch, the little watch bars that you get. It'll make sense in a second here. We'll do this.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
Yeah, so how many we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll do this actually. I'm gonna start over here. We'll make these a little circle. That was not the right blue, was it? There we go. Here's the right blue. Repeat that grid. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, where am I at? I lost count. We'll just do 23. Let's just do 23.
Pretend it's 23. It looks
23, yeah.
great.
There you go. So now we have actual dots there. Help kind of count that as well.
Yeah. That could be a good feature suggestion for future. I know the team wants to tackle some additional features for repeat grids.
Cool.
So maybe that could be interesting.
Actually, specific numbers there.
Yeah. I don't believe that's possible right now.
So there you go. So now we have a way to visualize that 23 years. What's the next one we got here? Client served 35. So maybe we can use this again.
Actually, you know what? It could be possible. If you go back to the very beginning.
Okay, I'll hide this.
Yeah. So create an ellipse or whatever. Turn into a repeat grid. And then at the top where like the width is. So was that 29?
Yes.
29 times 23.
That's a good. There you go. So let's do that. 29 times 23. Now you're gonna have to take and top.
Is that 23? I'm not sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No.
No. Darn.
But you're gonna need the spacing as well in that.
Oh, right.
So let's say the spacing's 8 and that is 29. So can you do
I believe you can, yeah.
29 plus 8 times 23? Yeah, that works.
You might have had to do it from the beginning. Well, I don't know.
I was actually selected on the ellipsis. That was the problem.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do 29 plus 8. We'll make sure that happens first before we multiply times 23. There we go.
Oh, did it work?
I think that's going to be it. Let's see.
It might be 23.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we got 5 is that width. 10, 20, 23.
Hey!
There we go.
We discovered something new.
There we go.
Although it could be easier, so if the team is watching, that'd be cool. But
Computers are really great at math.
they are.
So
I'm not, computers are.
there you go. That works. You know what? We'll go ahead and subtract 8 off that just so we can have it. I'm very particular. I like to have things very specific there. So let's stick with that for now. 23 years. There. Nice.
Cool.
Client served 35 and contracts written 84 plus. So let's continue working with the funny grid here. Let's make these kind of layered. We got client served 35.
$35 clients in 23 years? That depresses me.
23. That's 1.5 clients every year. That probably could be a lot better.
Yeah.
Let's make it a little interesting here. So we'll make like 112. Obviously 112 will not fit there, but we have 23, is that right? So
Yep.
let's make it 23, 4, 25. We have 25 there. Now we have an additional 50. 25, 50, 75, 100.
And you can always drag.
That's
on the original,
true.
drag
I just
that
remembered
downwards,
that. Yeah. All right, so you got 50, 75, 100. Now, something that'll be interesting is how to get that towards 12. So
Yeah,
we'll
then
probably
you'll
just
have
need
to do another repeat grid and just bring it inwards.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Duplicate that. I'll just do this. Okay, so how many you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's about right there. There you go.
Great.
So now we have a much larger block there to work with. So we'll name this one clients. We'll name this one experience. This one rate. Add that over there. I'm just kind of rearranging some. Now we have actual things to work with here besides just speculative stuff. And maybe we just need to shrink these so that they can fit in the grid a bit. The one thing I love about the repeat grid is once you have it set and you want to resize things, it stays that way.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Yeah. So how big we got there? We got 23, and the spacing was 8.
8. It's a good number.
I like 8. Oops. 23, and then we'll do the spacing is 8.
Yeah, it's definitely going to give you a little bit more room to work with.
Yeah. 23. Bring that down to 8. Oops. There you go. Let's see, we'll go ahead and do 8 there too. So 10, 9, 8. There we go. All right. Now we can have a bit more room. That's nice. I like to align those a little off because of the line. Okay, now we have one more to do here. We have, which one was it? Contracts written, 85 plus. So one thing that I was thinking maybe we could do is we want to, have a little bit of repetition here. We could make sure that this is, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. We could fade out these. So you have all these grids, and you could just say kind of fade it out, like he's lost count because he's done so many.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we have 84. So we had, let's see, that was 25, 50, 75, 75. And pull this back over as well.
Yeah, you kind of want to give the impression to a potential client that it just goes on and on
It
and on
goes-
and on.
Yeah, that's, especially in law, that's good.
Yeah.
23. So then we'll go pull this down to 8. There we go. All right. So how many do we have here? We'll just say that's 85.
Yeah,
We don't need
sure.
to count again. 85 plus. So let's say this goes on a little bit more, and I'll just probably add a little gradient over this. Make it horizontally aligned. There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea. I like that.
So it's roughly 85 plus.
Yeah.
So I think I'm working, we'll come back to the logos in a second here, but I'm really looking at the blue. Could make a bit of gradient here, add a bit more visual appeal. Break this grid again here. So we'll add, let's do this. We'll just change the colors for each of these.
And for those watching, there's about 19 minutes left before the challenge comes to an end.
Cool.
So definitely get those in. And if you have questions for John throughout this process, throw them in there before the stream is over. As he's working on all his little dots.
Little dots.
Does it ever drive you crazy working on repeated elements like this?
Sometimes, yeah. And generally, I like to do this a bit more in code because it has,
Right.
you know, it's even easier to
Yeah.
repeat some stuff. Now that would be really hard to read, so we'll come back to that in a second. So we'll come back to that. Again, we're still kind of in, I haven't been adding symbols. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone from blue and the image to some very standard stuff. Now we're into some elements here. So I kind of want to start thinking about how we can tighten this up a bit and make it a bit more coherent and kind of make sure everything's similar. So something that I still like to do, especially when picking colors, is just kind of create an additional color palette up here.
Oh, okay. It's like a mini design system.
Yeah. So we'll set that blue. Now we have a blue. Let's go ahead and start working on some other colors here. We could go this direction and just kind of start making it slightly lighter.
Yep. And when you're working on these colors, is it just like we talked about before, trial and error, or do you actually, is there a system behind this?
Yeah, I mean, again, I knew that I wanted to do blue because it was that comforting feeling. But a lot of this, since it's visual, and visual is very emotional, you can't, it's kind of hard to think about it in a way. So I could tell right now that kind of looks like a spa. Not too happy with that. So we'll kind of just make it a bit weirder here. So let's set these to purple as well. So I have this blue. I definitely want to keep that blue.
Yeah, I like that blue. It's looking good.
So what would that look like with purple? Not so much. Maybe we just set the complementary color altogether. Bring it over to yellow. Kind of fiddling around. That's something that is also great is this little app that I found, Palette app.
Palette.
So this is really cool. You can create a palette and it has all these sliders here. So you can change, you know, the saturation value, the hue. So we have a little blue here.
Interesting. Reminds you a little bit of Adobe Color.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tim just posted that in the chat. I love Adobe
what's
Color.
Color?
Color.adobe.com.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a little while. Yeah. So what's our blue that we have? We'll copy this actual value in there.
I would love to see an Adobe Color plugin within XD.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I know Talon was talking about creating one with one of our engineers, Peter. And that'd be really cool.
That would be really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so here, that makes it a whole lot easier, right? You got a triad, you got the analogous monochromatic. That's what we were going for. So just kind of go through these and see which ones I like. Shades. Let's do that. I really like that red there. That's helpful.
It's an interesting pop.
So we'll add that here, just for reference. Yeah. Again, it makes someone hungry, like I said earlier.
Hungry for a lawsuit, maybe?
Yeah, hungry for a lawsuit. That's good. So we'll stick with that for now. Maybe we just need those two colors, and we can start kind of. We'll do experience. Look up here. I'll add that to the color palette just for quick reference. Now we have we'll have two different colors and we'll just kind of keep it. I'll go back and fix that yellow. 1 second. blue. There we go. So we'll just say that's there for now. All right, let's keep going. I'm getting a little stuck in the
Yeah,
section
we
there.
could spend hours.
Yeah.
Just tinkering with colors and that sort of thing. And you know, once you actually add those to your assets panel, you can always go back and make changes across the entire document.
That's a good pointer. So now we got these logos here. Let's just hide them for a second here. Thinking about how we want to lay these out. We have this grid that's kind of going up, kind of continues this up and down here. Let's just think for a second here. Maybe we can make a little arc or something. Maybe not.
It'd be interesting.
No, I spend a lot of my time outside of design doing kind of some business stuff. So if anyone has questions about that freelancing, and if anyone does freelancing,
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer some of those too.
Yeah, let us know in the chat, not only if you have questions for John about freelancing, but if you're a freelancer yourself.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear who's freelance, who works for an agency, and that sort of thing. You ever find that, freelance is difficult, but do you ever find that some months are just, you got nothing?
Oh yeah.
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 How do you handle that?
I spend that time kind of working on other little projects, something that would help in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe my own website or something like that.
Yeah, personal projects can be super helpful.
Yeah.
Because I forget who it was, but someone, I think one of the guests just said, design something that you absolutely love, whether it's a hobby that you do or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Design a website for that, or design an app for that, because it'll really start to show in your work that you love whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that'll help. It'll really. Clients can see this stuff.
Yeah.
They can see that you put a lot of time and effort into something.
So one of these things, as I'm working through there, these logos are a little too small, so I'm gonna make those a little bigger. Just say that's. I kind of like to redo it in a group just so I have it in one quick action, and then I'm able to kind of spread them out here.
Yeah. Victoria is asking, how did you get your first clients as a freelancer?
Yeah, first ones were Dribbble, actually.
Okay.
Because Dribbble has a ton of kind of activity in that regard. So Dribbble was big. I've also just talked with the people. Like, it's funny how few designers think about like a chamber of commerce or something in their little town.
Right.
But there's, especially if you're doing just websites, there's gonna be tons of people that in your area close to you that are gonna need websites.
That's true. And I guess bouncing off of that, because I haven't done freelance in a long time, but when I did, it was a lot of talking with local places and little shops and things like that. But one thing that I always struggled with is coming up with pricing for some of these, because they're obviously mom and pop shops. They probably don't have a big budget for marketing. Some of them may not even think it's important to have a website or anything like that. How do you tackle some of that stuff?
Yeah, so the first thing that I say whenever somebody asks me that is like, if someone isn't sold on your price, chances are they probably don't need it anyway, because they're not very aware of all that goes into something like this.
Yeah.
So you just move on to the next client. But something that's very helpful as well is value-based pricing, which is something that Dan Mall and a group of guys kind of came up with and or at least wrote about and kind of helped designers start thinking through, is kind of value-based pricing. So what that means is, what is it really going to do for their business?
Right.
How much is it going to affect? How much can they earn based on the changes that you implement?
Yep.
And then you can kind of cut it in half or something. You don't need to charge them that full price and take all the profit from them, but something to think about for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
So these logos are causing me problems here. Kind of getting a brain fart away on them.
Sometimes you might just have to, go straight and just put them across.
Yeah.
Straighten them out. Maybe don't get fancy with this section and just let it be.
That probably would be helpful. My goal here was to add more visual appeal, but maybe we just need to kind of simplify it, give someone a breathing room in their thought process too. So we'll just spread this one over here.
And you have a portfolio, I would imagine.
It is on Dribbble right now.
Dribbble, okay.
Yeah.
So that's your main portfolio.
That's my
That
main
was my next
portfolio.
question.
Yeah.
Is one, where is your main portfolio? You just said Dribbble. How important do you think it is for designers to have a website versus something like Dribbble or Behance?
Yeah, what I do is I have my website as kind of like the information behind my business and kind of what needs to be told.
Yep.
And then I have the actual visual work on Dribbble.
Okay.
Just because there's, you can see the community interaction with the visuals as well.
Right.
If you have the time though, I never had the time to actually just integrate a full portfolio into my website. It might be super helpful.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right on that. We'll just stick that in the middle for now and just kind of keep it there.
Eight minutes left till you have to get those challenges in. And we'll take a look at them shortly.
All right, here we go. Again, just kind of clean up the files here, the layer names. Cool. So there's that. We got those things. Now we have the actual steps. Book a free call. I'll do the paperwork and you get back to work. For those of you that work on websites and do a lot of messaging and trying to figure out something, Don Miller's story brand is really great. It kind of helps you think about how to create a website in a way that makes it easy for someone to understand.
Interesting.
Clarifies the messaging and makes it so that you have this, like one of the popular things in this framework is the 3 steps. You book a free call, I'll do the paperwork and you get back to work, and then you have the call to action. It really just helps someone get in there and actually think about what they're going to be doing.
Nice. And what was that called again?
Story brand.
Story brand.
Yeah. So, one of the things that as I'm working on this, I'm seeing is that I'm still sticking with kind of this full width kind of layout.
Right.
Right. So we still have that. It might be helpful to kind of space out a little bit more. Bring this down because I want to prepare for this. I'd like for this to have a lot of breathing room.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and kind of space some of this out here. And what a lot of space does for, especially on websites, is add a bit of those animations that you're thinking about that we saw
Right.
on, Apple and other places. That if you have a bit of space, you're gonna have a lot of room to kind of add some stuff later.
And I wonder, just out of curiosity, I wonder if responsive resize would have helped with that.
Oh, interesting.
It might.
I have not used it that much, honestly. So we'll have that first service. We'll do the second service kind of like over here. And we'll do this one down here. So we're overlapping stuff, of course, but makes more room.
There's a few people in chat talking about risky clients and not getting paid and things like that. I think they need to contact Bob blah blah.
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people kind of like on the different before and after, or if you should have a contract, if you shouldn't have a contract. And I certainly do think that.
Absolutely, you have to have a contract.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the arguments of it's not a ton of money if you're working on like a $10,000 website in comparison to the law fees that would happen.
Right.
But it's more important for that relationship between the client and the freelancer. So,
Absolutely.
something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And you may think you might know the person that you're working with, you might be friends, you might be whatever, but nothing sucks more than just having them disappear and not paying you $10,000 for the website or whatever it might be.
Yep, certainly.
Yeah. And even though those legal fees might be a lot for a website like that or whatever it might be, trying to recuperate those costs, if you do win the lawsuit, which if you have a contract, you probably will, then that person would probably be required to pay for. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, but in most cases, they would have to pay the legal fees.
And certainly one of the things about being a good freelancer is providing good service. So as long as you're respectful, they'll pretty much be respectful back to you. Even if they get a little upset, you can just be respectful and they'll turn the corner usually.
Yep.
So now that we have a bit more space here, I'm seeing a lot of things kind of open up here. one of the things that like Rally Interactive does really well is create these little lines, and it creates this very good reference point. We'll just stick those right here. Repeat that. Again, just adding some more elements just to help kind of anchor some other things here. So this could be really, really light in the back. And now we have a bit of, you know, just space to work with here. That's one thing that I found really helpful for my workflow is whenever I get into a tight spot, really opening things up allows me to kind of think about things, because now we can add back in law for actors, you know, as the vertical text here on the side. So now we have this little element we can do over here. Make that light. Just filling in some space.
Yeah. And as you're going through this process, do you start thinking about how things are going to look on mobile, or do you just worry about that later on?
Usually later on, for me. I know it's generally good practice to kind of think about that when you're working on it, but I usually just don't.
That works.
So now that we have this bit of space, we really can make this a scrolling experience that's really enjoyable to kind of interact with.
Right.
We're gonna need some call to actions throughout here, but now we can go back to these logos and come in here and actually space these out a little bit. Where's my little ripping? There we go. Bring this all the way down here. Let me ungroup these so I can more easily grab them. You know, we could certainly even make, a lot of websites will have, they'll have like one piece of content, Smack App Center, which is good sometimes. But sometimes you could also just create two different, kind of like the old sidebars that we used to have in older websites.
Those good old sidebars.
Good old sidebars.
Good old sidebars. Yeah.
I think they're coming back.
You think so?
I think so.
Are they going to look very similar to how they did back in the day, or are they going to be different?
I think they'll be a little different. That's
Interesting.
Again, it's opinion based. So. Let's just align these right here.
One minute to get those challenge entries in.
I'm excited to see some of those.
I hope we have some. If you haven't gotten yours in, Tim mentioned, you know, even if you're still working on it, submit those so we can take a look.
So now that we kept things vertical, and what I was saying earlier here, we kind of have this little sidebar. You can have the logos over here and then still have plenty of space to create the steps over here.
Nice.
So we'll come back over and grab, where am I? Let's make it easy. All right, and then we have, whoa, scroll fast. Book free call, I'll do the paperwork, you go back to work. So let's just go ahead and copy these. Since there's a bit of content there already, speed things up. All right. So now that we have this, we have the content there. Again, it's a little bland, it's just black and white. So we're gonna add some actual, let's add some counters or something. We don't wanna add too much visuals to make sure it clutters with the, you know, contends with the actual text.
Yep.
But it might be helpful to add some little counters of some sort.
Cool. So when you're finished with that one, we're going to jump over. So we didn't get any new entries during this stream. People are probably still racking away and working on them.
Gotcha.
But definitely, if you're still working on it, get them in. We have one more stream left. They'll take a look. Melody and Camille, I believe, will take a look at those after. But we're going to take a quick look at the ones that came in last stream. Cool. So we'll give some additional feedback to those awesome people.
Duplicate this one thing right quick, and I'll be done.
Cool.
All right, there you go. So now we have a big scrolling area, and we can make it very, very clear what they want to follow, just straight down. So,
love it.
Yeah.
All right,
cool.
So let's hop over to my screen. We're gonna take a quick look at 2 entries that came in during the last stream. This one is from Kristen. And again, the challenge was to create a simplified purchase flow for a website on a fictional pet website.
Cool.
So this is Kristen's. Let me go ahead and launch the prototype, which you can publish directly from Adobe XD, which is super cool. And here's the website. So first impressions, what do you think of the design, the animation?
Yeah, one of the first things I love is something that I naturally gravitate towards is the navigation.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have dog, cat, fish, bird, and other. That makes it super easy.
Yeah.
Just to be able to go in and narrow this whole website down to something very specific.
Totally. I would just pay a little bit of attention to the spacing.
Yeah.
Make sure these line up vertically with the paw and maybe even these at the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice that they have the pets right at the top.
Yeah. I mean, the whole section probably could shrink just a little bit, just to allow for above the fold.
Right.
Be able to see a little bit more.
Yep.
Spacing is always one of the things that even I still struggle with after 10 years of doing it. So,
Yep.
yeah, can we scroll down a little bit and see?
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. Something that we were working with earlier is those rounded corners. So I see those rounded corners around there. And it's something that you want to keep consistent for sure. And it's great that all of those have the consistent border radius on those.
Yeah. And it was really cool. I think it was on day 3 we put together this like top products section, and we used the Google Sheets plugin.
Oh, cool.
It basically had all the products, the prices, and all the links to
Actual
images,
content.
And it just pops into Adobe XD.
Very cool.
It's really neat.
Yeah, one thing that I would also work on here too is the actual call to action. So I don't know right off the bat if those cards are actually clickable or not. I would assume that you click on it and it goes to an individual page for the Meow Meow box. But adding maybe a little button there, or even for the shop all, if you don't want to have to go through all those things and for some reason you can't do that, you can even make that shop all a button and set it over to the side a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just so that there's a bit of navigation interaction going on there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the few clickables on this website, I think nothing up there. Okay, so there's this one here.
There you go.
We can click on this to get to the product page.
Very good.
Good boy treats. Add to cart. Added. Okay. What do we click on now? Oh, we click on the cart button.
There you go. So one thing I noticed there was the icons changed as soon as the cart was added.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and I think there was this down at the bottom. No, it keeps loading again. I'm not sure if that was it or it just keeps refreshing. Let's see. Looks like there's something down there, but it keeps...
Just a refresh button.
Maybe. Well, Kristen, if you are in the chat, I haven't seen her. Let us know if those buttons, this one down here, is clickable. Maybe it may not be. I'm not sure. Well, there we go. So that was Kristen's, and then this one is from Nils.
Very cool.
This is something completely different, I think, but let's take a look at it. So this is House of Skagen, Eat and Drink.
Very cool. I love the layout.
Yeah.
Got a bit of that vertical text that we were talking about there.
Oh, Kristen is in the chat. There should be more. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not letting me click on certain things.
Is it possible to arrow through?
No. Let's try one more time. Click on this, add to cart. It does go up here. No. Technical difficulties. Well, we'll try that again later. All right, so nils.
Cool. Yeah. One thing that I noticed right off the bat is the contrast on the logos. That could probably be improved a little bit.
Oh, these ones down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so you can actually see them. There's a I can't remember the name of it, but there's an actual system for figuring out color contrast and everything.
Interesting, yeah.
So that's helpful. And then also that the menu button it kind of blends into everything. I don't really know what's clickable and what's not. So sometimes the simple solution is adding an underline, just so that it's a typical link.
Oh, right, yeah.
But maybe even some color here would help with setting apart the menu button, or if the reservations need to be moved over. Or
Totally.
So.
Kristen, it's probably on the Behance or prototype side. It's probably not you. It's probably the actual embedded prototype. It's probably just refreshing for some reason. All right. I love the way that this kind of breaks up. So the header is just nice and blue, and then below the fold, it's a little bit lighter. It's kind of like a beige
contrast.
But there's still a little bit of pop of blue over here to the left.
Yeah. I certainly like this. I don't have much to say about this.
It's making me hungry.
Yeah, they're great use of red.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Ugh, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten today. Let's see what some of these do. Deli shop.
Yeah, there you go. That's something that's really great there was the contrast between the external and internal pages from like a macro stance.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah.
It flows really nicely.
It does.
Let's go back. Oh, here we go. Go back to here. What did these do? Oh.
There you go.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I guess it looks like it might have been an overlay.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I see the text there too.
Yeah.
It says that you can order from those places.
Yeah.
So something that creates, right now it kind of looks like the logos are, like we've worked with these type of people.
Right, I was going to say, it doesn't look like it's something you can click on, right?
Maybe
Even though it
need to be a button or
says
something.
choose a delivery site, but yeah, buttons would be nice.
Yeah, so I mean, from a very high stance, the layout's great, the color selection's great, the typography's great. Just working on some of these clickable actions and call to actions would really help kind of spruce that up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this seems super in depth. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah. I wonder if this is actual client.
Maybe. Oh, there's a menu. Oh, fancy. Looks like another overlay. Reservations. Interesting.
Huh. Now there's something, again, knowing the front end development, you can actually put a TEL link in there. And it will, if your computer has ability to call, you can make it call right away.
Totally. All right, awesome. So those are the two entries that we received this stream. Definitely get yours in if you're still working on the challenge, and Melody and Camille will take a look at those right at the end of next stream.
Cool.
All right, so I'll top back over to yours. Finish up.
Cool.
Bob Loblaw's law firm.
Still cracks me up every time.
I love it.
Yeah, so now we have a bit more of this kind of scrolling action, which is what we first started with, something that was very kind of bland.
Yeah.
We started over here. So we kind of want to add, break out the grid, add some scrolling, some really cool stats there. Now, this, again, looking at consistency here, this circle kind of matches this stuff here, which I don't know if that's what we want to do. So maybe we just kind of make these slightly different by adding a border and making them white. Just kind of clean it up a little bit, and again, try not to compete with the text too much.
Yep. And how do you determine how much space is too much space? Do you do user testing to figure this out, or do you just, kind of eyeball it?
I usually eyeball it, and something that, again, that's helpful is when you get into actual front-end development. It's much easier to kind of tweak spacing like that. I know that when I'm developing, I try to set actual spacing values to a specific variable that I can reuse over and over again. So just like overrides in XD, you got to go back in and actually adjust the spacing a bit much more quickly. So I kind of want those to stand out just a little bit, so we'll make those red. I'm happy with that for now. So we'll just kind of tighten these up a little bit, space them out. So there you go. And we got the footer as well, is that right? So basically the same navigation book a free call. So that's one thing that I forgot. We're gonna need to go back through and add some call to actions here.
Right, yeah, because you want not necessarily as many as you can, but definitely in strategic locations.
Yes, certainly.
And I think that might be on the other artboard. Looking at the bounding box. You might have the other artboard, yeah.
There you go, that's right. I'll tell you what, we'll just go through here.
There you go.
There we go. Cool. So we'll go ahead and you definitely want the call to action to be different color as well.
Yeah, totally.
So book a call. We'll want that to be white. So again, we'll kind of add that little handle there that we like. Pull that down. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead. We have two different fonts here, Helvetica and Calibri. So what does Helvetica look like? I'm gonna be that guy that just sticks Helvetica on this.
Just go Comic Sans, why not,
There
right?
you go, Papyrus.
Papyrus is a good one. I love that font.
We'll just do Helvetica for this. Is that Remedium?
And buttons, you don't have to get too fancy.
Right. In fact, the thing that's most important on the button is actually the text.
Yeah.
That's good. Again, we don't have very many rounded corners. We have circles and boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna stick with that for now, just to keep the art direction the same. So we'll slide that into the hero.
Norvell saying, Calibre, no. I'm a sucker for rounded corners. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but any chance I get, of course it doesn't always work. It depends on the rest of the website, like you were saying, but I don't know, just whenever I can, I try to round out those corners.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, you can make arguments for each of the different types of, or why you would need to have rounded corners. Like,
absolutely.
If we wanted to make it a bit softer or something, but I don't know. I'm trying to break the mold a little bit here.
Yeah.
Trying to, at least.
Now there's a big conversation going about Papyrus in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, look what we've done. Papyrus is a good font. James Cameron. Famous last words.
Nice. So I'm just gonna make this a little smaller since we already have one. And maybe we'll just kind of make these stick up here. So we'll do navigation and button. So the button's gonna be with the navigation. I'm gonna pull these out and I'm gonna add, just make it sticky here.
Yeah.
Fix position when scrolling. Nope, wrong button. Wrong button.
Oops.
This button.
Now the big question is, if you have a fixed navigation with a book a call button, do you need the other ones going down your website?
I think so.
Okay.
Because sometimes people, I mean, you can't pigeonhole someone into how you think they're going to work.
That's true.
Let me just play this right here. I'll show you why. You always want the book a call to be available, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will see that book a call and they might just kind of tune it out.
Right.
Like, of course, that's what they want me to do. But if it's certainly part of messaging as well, not just the interaction of how you want to convey to someone, hey, we want you to book a call, and that's what's really going to help you here. So we'll go ahead and go back through and add this some more. Put this one probably about right there. Oops, stats, we'll pull that down. Again, just spacing things out here. I'm gonna make these not as bold. It feels a little cheap right now, I guess, in a way. So I think Luke Wroblewski, I can't say his last name, he said that you always want to have that present, because at any point in this website, somebody could change their mind and say, that's when I want to do it. So,
oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So even though it's up there in the right-hand corner, you still want it just always available in multiple different ways.
I mean, if that happy couple doesn't make me want to book a call, I don't know what
Yeah,
will.
that's true. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. So we'll come back to that later. But yeah, so now I have a bit of scrolling. Again, the thing that takes longest for me is the color stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the colors. I still think it's a little too standard. So we'll come back.
That's the good thing about the assets panel. It's just update it everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
It's magical.
So now that we have, one of the things that I mentioned probably about an hour ago was that, we have the rest of the site built out. And now I kind of want to go back and try to update this header because right now it still feels a bit standard. So sometimes I will this was something for me to start working on and start getting ideas out and just hide it. And that's just, one of the things that we have is a lot of central stuff now. I definitely like the way the rest of this page is going, so I think we'll pop back up and kind of rethink that. All right. So that's very big in comparison to the rest of the stuff now. So now we have 75, we do about that. This one's causing me trouble. What would you do here?
I'm a sucker for like full width header images.
Okay.
But in this case, I don't know if it would necessarily work. But yeah, I mean, it could work because if it's a law firm for television and movies, then it's kind of theatrical, right?
Well, something that we could do, we could make it full width, but let's pull it in a little bit just to leave it kind of floating.
Yeah.
So we have kind of like the content section and then maybe like a call to action section here. So we'll say, I'm gonna go find a better image than our smiling couple. Sorry.
Jack and Rose got fired.
Jack and Rose got fired. They didn't have the face.
No.
What was our other heading we had? I'm gonna add this and then we'll go look for another image. Something that's very popular as well is actual, like a video. So let's go ahead and add that as well, like an actual play button. Oh yeah.
Yeah, lawyers love making videos about their law firms.
That's true. Let's go in here and I'll just add a quick little play button. Okay. Just a placeholder for me to remember that idea there. Okay. All right. We went the television route with photography, so let's maybe go through here and see what law looks like. That's a decent one. That could work well. Let's just do that. Save. There we go. So we will pop this back in here.
Oh, someone's asking what Macs are we using? What are
Macs.
you running with?
15-inch.
15. Yeah, I believe mine's 15 as well. 2018, I think.
What's mine?
We have the touch bar too. Yeah.
I have 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So contrast is really bad on that text there, so we're gonna add this back in. We'll just kind of fade that out. There we go.
All right. I don't hate it.
Yeah. It'll get there slowly. I saw a post.
It's definitely not as happy and friendly as the other image, but I think there could be a middle ground that you can probably find depending on what image you find, but yeah, it's not terrible.
And I mean, as great as stock photography is, it's helpful to get actual photos.
Of course,
the person, or whatever they're doing. So
you can get a photo of Bob blah blah.
Bob blah
blah blah.
So now that we have this, I think one of the things that really would help is typography again. Visiting that again, continue to tweak things. Just get used to it. The logo is meta serif font, so maybe we just stay on brand. Stay with meta serif. Whoop. Still feels pretty basic though, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's kind of working.
I think what else we could do here. Services.
It does feel very different than down at the bottom.
It does,
right?
yeah. Designers being designers.
This is what we do for hours each day.
Yep. Move boxes around.
Yeah. If only there was a button that just did it for us. And I guess we wouldn't be designers. We'd be button pushers.
This header's being difficult, so let's go. Let's just go explore.
Brandon says, I thought it was a rule to never use the logo font as a brand font. What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. I've never heard that before. I thought it was a rule to never use the logo font as a brand font.
I don't follow that. It's probably more of a guideline, but you know.
Maybe. And it certainly also depends on what the font is.
That's true.
You don't want to use Avatar. Like if you're building a site for Avatar.
No.
Yeah.
Don't use Papyrus, ever.
Let's see here. We're going to go to web design. We're going to look at some header images here. Sorry, just thinking out loud. Very interesting header. This is what we were kind of going for earlier, was these grids type stuff. So that's interesting. The logos are pulled into the header.
Oh.
And then some very light, big text in the back.
Yep. Got about 2 minutes left.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Pressure's on. So let's just start over again. Where's that bounding box going to?
Oh boy.
That is a long bounding box. What is that going to? Oh, and the services. I'll just move those down there. Okay.
This is the point in the project where you just scrap the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like
start from scratch.
We all experience it.
Yeah. And honestly, I've been in that situation so many times where I just can't figure something out.
Yeah.
And going for a 15-minute walk or just sleeping on it just changes everything.
Yeah, you wish it didn't happen in the middle of the streaming on Adobe Live, but
that's true.
It happens.
That's why I'm a host and not a guest. Because I would just flip this beautiful table that we just got and
oh, nice. Yeah.
You know, start over again.
Something that also is making it different is let's just scrap the navigation too for now. We don't have much time left, but we can at least come up with something here.
You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds now. Never mind then.
Redo the whole website in 30 seconds. You got this.
Done. There you go. White screen.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, at least we got this stuff done, which is important.
Yeah, this stuff is looking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have planned for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I'm going to be working on this. This is getting a bit more of where I feel comfortable too.
Okay.
So this is a little app that I started called Balsa. It's just a design.
Okay.
I love working on wood work, obviously. Got a bit of wood. So just creating things with wood. So I wanted to place that you could go and get plans for your project pretty easily. So what I'd like to do here is the design challenge would be to add an additional feature. And that could be a search or something. Right now all we have is this little icon to add and then the account and some basic listings of projects.
Cool.
So if we add an additional feature, it might be fun.
Awesome. All right. So from John and I, we'll see you all tomorrow. He's going to be working on this cool app. And stick around. We got Melody and Camille coming right back at you at Adobe Live with who knows what they're doing, but some cool UI and UX stuff in Adobe XD. We'll see you all later.